As you can imagine, gun collectors are always coming across different things, and I receive all kinds of calls. Sometimes people just want to know what somebody's rifle is worth, whether it's for an estate purpose or some other purpose, and I'm always glad to oblige. And then once in a while I get a call to come and take a look at something, whether or not it's for sale. Anyway, obviously I frequent gun stores, and I was in a gun store not long ago, and I asked if there was anything that came in that was interesting, and the proprietor, just a wonderful fellow, came out of the back with this box. So you can see it's definitely not a factory box. It's made out of mahogany, and it's probably for a rifle, I thought. Of course, you know, I've seen this kind of thing before. Somebody went to the trouble of installing a brass hasp or whatever that's called for a padlock, and there's a little bit of rust on some of these, some of this hardware, but not a big deal. They put a handle. The whole thing is actually quite heavy, so when we put it on the glass counter, I thought, you know, maybe it's some old clunky rifle. And then we opened the case, and of course he knew what rifle was inside. And I mean, it's a privilege to be offered a rifle like this. Somebody did not have 20 or 50 guns probably, although they may have, but they obviously cared about this rifle, and they did just a beautiful job. I'm a very primitive carpenter and cabinet maker, but I can see obvious signs of a more professional workmanship here, and he took such care. Apparently the fellow's not with us anymore, but he made a lid out of mahogany, and this is going back in time. This is the 303 oil. I hope we can film that. And we've got some gun slick, gun grease from Onalaska, Wisconsin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then I didn't change anything. This is exactly as I bought it. I haven't had it that long. Some 303 rounds. I guess there might have been some Kynoch rounds at one time or another. Got a cleaning rod. It's a one piece. It's got the coating on it so that you don't damage the bore. I don't know who made this. It could be a Parker Hale, but I can't tell. Maybe one of you knows. And then it has cleaning swab in here. And then he put the brushes in a little cardboard box. There's a jag in there as well. Just everything he needed for this rifle. What's this? This is just a RPM handy oil. Not sure. Maybe you recognize this. I don't recognize it, but that's virtually new. And then a little toothbrush in here, which is kind of cute. And then the rifle itself. I mean, just an absolutely wonderful job. It started out obviously as a military rifle, but a lot of people back in the day converted these to sporters. Some were terrible. The ones by Parker Hale are fantastic. I have a hunch either this gentleman made it himself or he had a custom gun maker. I looked at the stock. I mean, that's high quality, beautiful walnut. Somebody had, you know, took care and did a proper job finishing the stock. It's actually a white line recoil pad, and you can see all the features. It's hard for me to describe on film, but every surface has obviously been trued to his standards. I guess military collectors would be saddened by these changes to the military gun, but the action is definitely smoother than the military rifle. I haven't really, just checking so a little bit of, I'm not sure if he did anything with the trigger, it doesn't matter. And then the coolest thing is this Aperture site, and you'll see what he did. Somebody did. In order to have everything fit, he even cut out, I don't know whether we can film all this, but he customized everything so all the metal surfaces and safeties and so forth could operate without interference. Just beautifully done. And this is a Long Branch 1945, and the stock is it's just an automatic, not an automatic rifle. What I mean is it comes to the shoulder perfectly and quickly, and of course you have that wonderful feature that the Enfield has, tremendously fast rate of fire. And one thing I did notice, obviously I looked at this before, some of the custom sporters, they relieve this spring so that it's not so hard to push. Of course, if you're in the trenches, it should be hard to push, but for sporters sometimes they relieve that. I can't remember what sporter I was looking at. It was made by, might have been an Army Navy, and Army and Navy was kind of a distributor, so it's actually hard to tell who made the gun. It might have been a Wesley Richards conversion. In fact, I think it was a Wesley Richards. Anyway, there's an example of a rifle that you could use for deer or moose or whatever you wanted, unless you're obsessed with telescopic sights, and as you know, I'm not obsessed with telescopic sights. These are the wonderful hook type sling swivels that the British liked. This gun would serve you for a lifetime. Whenever I find something like this, I forgot to mention it has shadow line cheek piece. This is what this is called in gun making. This line is called a shadow line, and this is properly done. A lot of times cheek pieces, the gun makers spend a lot of time making them, but they put them in the wrong place and they're the wrong size. But he got this just about perfect. I don't know about the white line spacers, but maybe for some reason he liked that. So, I mean, altogether, just a wonderful rifle, quite a surprise. This cost me, well, about the same as this Savage Axis, which I put on the table. And it happens to me all the time that I'll go to a show and you know, you'll see these, and then you'll see something like this. It might not be a Lee Enfield, it might be a modified Krag, or a, you know, an older rifle from the 60s or 70s or whatever, or older. But to my way of thinking, this is 10 times the rifle that this is. It has the nice thing about the Enfield, it has all the features, including the removable magazine. And 303 British is as good as any modern round. So I don't know. I'm not sure what case I'm making, but there's definitely a qualitative difference between these two rifles. And I'm sure with time, this Enfield will be worth a lot more than this Savage. And then there's pride of ownership. And in this case, he included so many things. You can see how much he cared about this particular rifle, which is nice to see. You know, we're kind of these days all living like on the hamster wheel, and maybe this guy wasn't quite on the hamster wheel. And I put out, just because I happen to be thinking about it, this is the can of Rigby Rangoon oil. And then actually I received a wonderful Christmas present this year, Rangoon oil from the UK. And I believe that's from Wesley Richards, so they still make Rangoon oil. This is in a plastic bottle, but the contents are the same. And then these are a couple other things I had around that sort of went with this theme. So I'm not sure who did all this work with the mahogany case. I wish I did know, but I don't. But everything that it amounts to is, I think, just terrific. Probably have trouble selling this one. It's just so well done. Just a beautiful representative of a great design and past values. So I wanted to share that with you. And if you can find these, whether you're into collecting heavily or just starting out, these are lasting values, as I've said before. And that's probably all I have to say on this one. Thanks so much for watching, and please push that subscribe button, and join me on Patreon when you can. We'll see you next time.